Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Everybody's race is different. Everybody's experiencing life different, and everybody's trying to figure it out the same as you are. And it's just really weird now.
It's really weird, and it's celebrated to hate people. And that's the weird part. And most of us know that that's wrong. And that's why, like, when this Charlie Kirk thing happens, there's a giant blowback. And most people recognize, like, hey, as a collectively, as a society, this is not right. Regardless of whoever that person is, whether that person's on the left or the right, they just got shot in front of the whole world. It's not a thing to celebrate ever. And especially when you're seeing people on the left that are supposed to be progressives. These are supposed to be the kind, compassionate, inclusive people that are celebrating gun violence, public execution. Like, that's insane. That's a public assassination. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be against guns and then celebrate when someone is killed by a gun.
Right. Yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense. But that hypocrisy is just a symptom of where we find ourselves. We're all just, so many of us are confused because of the rhetoric online. And again, a lot of that's not normal. It's not organic. It's not real. It's not real people. And it's not what you would ever get in real social circles of healthy people.
Yeah.
You're only getting it through this very bizarre filter of just text on social media and videos where someone's just talking to the camera, celebrating on social media. It's like, it's very strange.
Most of the time you walk around, because we travel all over the place, and most of the time when you walk around, stop watching the news, get off your phone, and just walk around in society.
Yeah.
It's really not that bad.
It's not that bad, and that is the key, but most people are not going to get off their phone.
Yeah.
And that's what's fucked. Most people are just fully hooked on that damn thing.
You think it's weird now? Wait till all these iPhone babies grow up and all these tablet babies grow up. You've seen the videos of them taking the tablets away and the babies are like freaking out, having withdrawals and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're being raised with it. Yeah.
Our generation was probably the last to not have. I mean, we didn't have technology growing up. We had dial-up internet, and we didn't get that till I was, already through middle school.
I didn't have a smartphone until I was 16.
We still have an Android.
Yeah, dude, but that's better.
All right, buddy.
Why are you an Android guy?
I've always been an Android guy because I'll give you some. We didn't grow up rich, so.
That's my argument, just to play around that.
Yeah, we couldn't afford iPhones, and I really didn't care. I didn't even know what an iPhone was. I just got whatever phone I could buy.
Text people.
My dad got me my parents got me the little sidekick and stuff. So I've always been on the Android side. And then when I started working as a teenager, I saved up and I bought my own smartphone from one of those cell phone shops in the strip mall. And it was Android. I never really got into I never cared, first of all, what phone people have. It's you guys who care.
Oh my God!
I have both. But it's a weird thing in our society where if a kid has an Android phone, they're looked down on. And
yeah, dude.
It's weird. Like something like 80+% of kids have iPhones.
Man, it was after a show one time. It was after a show one time a long time ago.
Weird.
And I was talking to this girl. This was like way back in the day. And she's like, yeah, well, maybe we get your number. And then I pulled out my phone. She's like, oh, you have an Android? I just walked off. Yeah, just walked off.
She didn't like you anymore?
Green bubble. Yeah. It was
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Isn't that weird? It's weird. It's weird, but it's like it just shows you how easy people fall into tribes. Yeah.
Over anything.
What we were just talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even down to phone. If you have something different than somebody, they automatically don't like you.
When
it can be
iPhone
religion, it can be politics, it can be the dang phone in your pocket.
Yep.
When the iPhone babies grow up, they're going to be killing each other over phones.
What about the Android babies? Is this
we just want to be left alone, man.
See, there's the identity.
It's a Rebels phone.
Now, Rebels phone.
If you choose it, it's a Rebels phone. If it chooses you, it's like, one day I want to get a fucking iPhone. I get out of this job. I'm going to get a real job, and I'm going to get an iPhone.
Nope.
But the people that choose it, they're the rebels.
I'm glad I married an iPhone user, I'll tell you that. I'm glad my wife has an iPhone, and we can send cool emojis.
See, you say that? I married an iPhone user, and I don't care if she has an iPhone.
That's sweet.
You're glad that you married an iPhone user. I don't care that I married an iPhone user. I love her anyway.
It feels like you're trying to be superior over him now.
Exactly.
By virtue of calling,
Brandon's just like the
calling
left,
out your superiority
Can't win for
complex.
losing.
He's being superior.
Yeah.
Just can't win with these people.
Oh yeah. Now he's playing victim.
He wants to say it's an American company, but they're made in China.
Well, the owner, Tim, what's his name? Cook.
You don't even know.
He is
the
from.
CEO.
He is from where we are from.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
supporting a local. Now, has he ever put an Apple store in Mobile, Alabama? Absolutely not. Do we deserve one? Probably not.
We don't.
But
It'll get robbed, dude.
Yeah.
maybe the phone should be made in America one day.
Yeah.
But American company.
Well, if they made an I always said that if they made an American phone that had like a little American flag on the back, but it cost $200 more, I would buy it.
Yeah, me too.
Who do you think's going to make it?
Well, it would have to be a company that the problem is that the goal of doing that is a long goal. Like you would have to develop the chips. You'd have to have a plant. Like Samsung tried to put in they were putting a microchip plant in Texas, and they had giant issues because they weren't getting enough. Like so, all of them don't meet their standards, and a certain percentage of them weren't, and it was a much lower standard than they needed, and so it didn't work out. It's like, and you're spending billions and billions of dollars to find out that you can't do it. So in China, they've got that shit perfected. They've been doing it for so long because we've relied on them for so long.
Don't they have their own phone as well?
Oh, they have a lot of phones.
Isn't it? Well, I forgot what it's called. They have a special Chinese phone.
Well, Huawei, because they were banned here, so Google and Apple wouldn't let them use their operating systems because it's basically a spy device.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Oh.
So are all of them. If you're hanging around with me, your fucking phone's bugged.
Yeah,
Heck yeah,
dude. That's always been something that does not bother me personally. I don't have anything to hide. First of all,
What about your DMs?
That's not
Like
the problem. Is
what we
not
send each
that.
other.
The problem is not you having something to hide. The problem is no one should have access to your private
No, they
information.
should not.
Whether or not it's bad. That shouldn't mean anything. No one should have access.
no, they should not.
Because it's an individual.
Yeah.
No individual should be able to look at your phone. You can't look at theirs. It's a power thing. It's
And
a
they're-
control
But
thing.
you can guarantee the government's got everything.
Oh, it's not just the government. It's other foreign governments, especially if you're a controversial person. Like foreign governments, there's a thing called Pegasus too. All they need is your phone number. That's all they need. So if you're not using encrypted apps, all they need is your phone number. And even if you are using encrypted apps, the government can get into those. When Tucker Carlson was trying to interview Putin, the government contacted him and said, "We know you're trying to interview Putin. We were looking into your Signal app." And he's like, "What?
Wow.
That's wild.
You can read my fucking Signal app?" Yeah.
So it's just like the government saying, back off China, spying on Americans is our job.
Yeah.
Well,
Those are
because of the
ours.
Patriot Act and because of a lot of other things that they've passed in this country, a lot of it's legal. They're allowed to. They're allowed to spy on you.
I think they can make it illegal and we still wouldn't know.
Well, it probably would be illegal, but it wouldn't matter. They would find some sort of a fucking loophole. Or they would pass some bill, they'd stick it in some farm bill, something. We think, like, oh, this is good, we're going to help the farmers. And you look in there like, hey, what's this doing in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen there's some stuff in the big beautiful bill where it's like they were trying to sell some national park land or something.
Yes. They were trying to sell public land. That was a part of the big beautiful bill. Yeah. I was one of the people that was trying very hard to try to get that out of there.
I remember that.
It's fucking sick.
I thought that was illegal.
It should be.
Foreign countries.
It should be.
owning
They're trying
land.
to change laws. That's the thing. Like foreign countries owning land around military bases. That's crazy.
That's weird too.
Why is that happening?
You can't do that in China. Meanwhile, China owns land around military bases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of stupidity with our freedom, but that doesn't mean the government should be fucking spying on you. The thing is, in other countries, they just are. Like in China, they just are. And, and the argument is if we want to compete with China, we have to do what they're doing, which I think is insane.
Aren't they about to start, or they already have the social point system?
Social credit score.
Yeah, social credit score.
Oh, yeah. So if you jaywalk and they get a photo of your face, so they have biometrics, they get a photo of your face, they know it's you, your thing gets dinged, now you can't buy a plane ticket.
It's like Black Mirror stuff.
Yep.
Dude.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
becoming
like
reality.
that. Well, they're passing that in the UK right now. In the UK, you need a digital ID to combat, ready for it, illegal immigration. Well, motherfucker, you let the illegal immigrants in on purpose. Like, you guys knew what you were doing, And now you're using it as a justification for digital ID.
I just watched one this morning, actually, it was a British judge. A guy got sentenced.
I saw that, yeah.
For however many years for a
20 months, social media post.
for a social media post.
It
was about immigration.
It's getting
complaining
weird,
about immigration.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. And, it's the best way to control people, and keep them at each other's throats. Like, bring in a bunch of people that the people that live there don't want there and let them duke it out, and then start instituting tighter and tighter restrictions and control.
Yeah, I see all that happening, and it always makes me wonder. I wonder how it's going to go down here, because we are the different ones with the guns and stuff. I wonder how far it's going to go here before something happens, something pops off.
They're going to try. They're going to try, and they're going to keep trying. They're going to continue to try, and they're going to try to sneak it in. And if it's not for independent journalists that call that shit out, we would be in real trouble. It would have already happened. It would already happened. They would have put it. They were trying to institute a vaccine passport, and the vaccine passport would be attached to a digital ID so that you would know. But that digital ID would then be transferred to a social credit score, and then they wanted to do a carbon tax. So they want to do a thing that tracks your carbon. So it tracks how many miles you drive, tracks your purchases, so it tracks how much carbon you're contributing to the environment. It's crazy.
And somehow paying more money will stop that.
Oh yeah, that's what we need to do. You just need to tax people more.
Yeah.
Tax people more, and it's all going to come and make normal in the end. It'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Utopia. Farmer
with cows, you got to pay taxes on those cows because they're farting.
Because they're farting.
Well, how about in other countries? They're killing cows. They're forcing them to kill cows because these cows are producing too much methane. So they're saying you have to kill 2,000 cows, 1,000 cows.
Wow.
Food.
Yeah, so they control your food. That's exactly what it is.
I remember when all those chicken farms or chicken houses burnt down a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was really weird too.
Yeah, it's real weird. But the chicken houses do burn down. What's
Yeah.
also weird is they had to kill a bunch of chickens because some of these chickens had bird flu.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully
Wasn't
that's
people's
true.
livestock, Brandon, popping up dead too? Bunch of cattle?
There was a couple of years ago.
Years
This one farmer posted a video like all of his cattle were just dead in the
field.
and they said it was because of the heat or something. But this farmer had just tons of dead cows just all of a sudden. And it was going on the same time as the chicken houses burning down, so it could have just been news adding on to news kind of thing. This is what's in right now.
Maybe it's aliens.
Yeah, maybe so.
Like cattle mutilations.
Well, I mean, the alien thing is just another interesting topic. Like I'll get there's random times where people are seeing all these crazy things in the sky, and it's like a big deal for a few days, and then you don't really talk about it anymore. Did you see that one thing that lady was filming? She was like, "Hi, do you know Jesus?" And the wheels were like going crazy.
No, what is that?
It's like
It's also hard to know what's real.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause AI.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, see, and the interesting thing about that, though, somebody in the Bible described seeing something, one of the angels or something.
Ezekiel.
And the wheels on
Wheel
wheels.
within a wheel.
And that's what this thing was. And she said, "Do you know Jesus?" And then the wheels would just start spinning really, really fast. And I was like, "Whoa, man! I hope that's real. That's pretty cool."
Oh man, is this it?
Yeah.
That looks like a rocket
I
launch.
can, but my fingers don't work.
She zooms in on an orb and speaks to it.
Sorry, guys.
She says, "Jesus loves me." She's definitely have an android. Look how
Yeah.
fucking she is.
It's gonna turn into the moon here in a second. Watch.
Well, that's the thing. If you zoom in on stuff, especially stuff through the atmosphere, things look very blurry. Like if you zoom in on stars, they totally look like there's some sort of a fucking spaceship.
See
But
how
it's just a star.
when she says, "Do you know Jesus?" It starts starts moving. I think it's towards the end, but yeah, you get the idea. It's just
Yes,
That
he
looks
is.
like
You know,
kind of looks like a
Jesus.
weather balloon.
Jesus is awesome,
Maybe it's
isn't
one of
he?
them Chinese spy balloons
Wait,
again.
play that. Let me hear her say it.
Jesus loves me.
yeah, look.
Oh, you know Jesus.
You know Jesus.
You know Jesus. Jesus is awesome, isn't he?
Yeah, Jesus rocks. But if that is real,
Yes,
dude,
he is.
and that random lady's just filming that,
Well, that is the weirdness of the people that think that they can call these things in. So there's a group of people that supposedly successfully They sit out and they have this intention. They go out into the desert in a clear night sky, and they have this intention to call these things in. And they're all silently calling these things in. And apparently it's effective. Occasionally, I don't know how often, but it's not zero. Sometimes these things show up.
Who's that guy? He was on Sean Ryan. He's an old man, Chris something. But people like celebrities go out to his land, and he's like, I can call these things on command. They'll show up, and people go out to see it.
Yeah. I don't know about all that.
Yeah,
it's hard.
You should go there.
Go investigate.
I don't want to.
People will trust what you say.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't know what I'm seeing.
Well, don't tell anybody. Just go out for yourself.
The thing is, like, you don't know what you're seeing. It could be a drone. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be fucking Starlink.
This guy
Do you have to pay to go do it?
That's a good question.
I can't remember that guy's name. It's driving me crazy. But yeah, he wrote a book called UFOs of God, and I started listening to it, and I'm just terrible about reading books and stuff. So I got like the first 3 chapters in, but it was really interesting. He's worked with NASA showed up at his house.
Here it is, Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah, I watched his Sean Ryan, I think the guy's name is. I watched his podcast. It was an interesting lesson.
And so this guy, what does he think these things are?
They're related with God somehow. They're
this is what Tucker believes.
Yeah, I believe it too.
A lot of people believe that these things are not from another world, that they've always been here.
Yeah.
And they're a part of our world that just don't show themselves to us. Does this guy have videos of these things? Watch this with an open heart, okay? Show me what you got. Okay, something moving. Oh.
There's a lot.
Okay, what the fuck is that?
I think you should go out there and check him out. Just don't tell anybody.
Bugs.
That could be bugs.
I see that if I look up in the sky in Austin all the time.
Yeah, but that thing moving across the sky, that is odd.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
That thing's very odd because that's clearly moving.
You see flashes.
But the thing is, it's like you're zooming in, right? So you get distortion, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know, and see it's going behind the cloud. That you don't know what that is.
Yeah, have you ever seen the
Thank you,
space station
TikTok.
fly over? Kind of like that.
How have you seen the space station fly over?
Yeah.
I've seen
I
it
have
once.
pictures of it before.
Does it look like that?
So, yeah, it's really
Just a
slow
white
moving.
light?
It's just a tiny
It's
little
usually
dot.
just one though.
Well, the rest of that stuff kind of looks
Probably
like
bugs.
fireworks.
Yeah, that
Things
looks
are
like
looking up
bugs.
From
Yeah.
the backyard.
That's the problem. Is that
tracking
like
something.
if you're zooming in on this thing, the stuff that flies in between that looks like it's moving really fast and flying across incredible space. Yeah, that easily could be bugs.
Especially if you're like.
But maybe not.
Also, yeah.
That's the problem.
Interdimensional angelic beings.
Is that what he's calling them?
That's what it says.
Hmm.
There's more.
I'd like to see some documentation.
My
sir.
dad was healed.
Go out there, dude.
Wait till the end. What happens in the end?
It goes behind the cloud.
Oh.
They simply come when we ask in prayer. Countless others were healed too.
Joe, just go out there and see it, and don't tell anybody.
I don't want to waste my time. I feel like if they want to show themselves, they should just go ahead and do it. Just do it.
I think they will eventually, maybe, if it's going to happen.
Maybe
Maybe
a lot.
Maybe if things get real messy here.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Well, isn't there verses about there will be signs in the sky? I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of verses about the sky and about. I've been into the Book of Enoch over the last couple. of months.
I was wanting to pull that up. I was wanting to talk about that.
So Rep Lima came in here and she was explaining to me the Book of Enoch, and I never really got into it. She's like, it could have been included in the Bible, and it was a part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but
the first half was, right?
the Book of Enoch is in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
The whole book?
Yeah,
Oh.
and the at least part. It's the problem with the Book of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Rather, it's a lot of it is deteriorated and it's missing chunks and stuff. But
Yeah.
the Book of Isaiah is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it is identical word for word. Wes Huff was explaining that to
Yeah.
a version of it that was 1,000 years older, which was the most recent version before they found the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 1940s, which is wild.
That is wild.
That's the book that God predicts his own coming to earth and his own death and all that.
Well, the Book of Enoch is the one that predicts that this is what talks about the Watchers in the
Yeah.
sky, and that these gods
Trippy
mate with
alien stuff.
humans and created the Nephilim.
Yep.
That is bizarre.
Well-
I've listened to it twice now, and I keep going back over it.
I've heard a lot of things about giants in Afghanistan. And I find that, I talk about a lot of different topics. I talk about a lot of UFO stuff. And I say some things that I know could get me in trouble. But nothing makes me more nervous than talking about giants, specifically the Kandahar giant and the giants in Kandahar in general.
Why?
Mainly because when I talk to people who know things, they're very, very nervous when we get to this topic. And some of them will just flat out will not talk about giants in general, but specifically giants in Afghanistan. And some of these guys are high-level guys that worked at the Pentagon, and they'll talk rather freely with me about UFOs. But as soon as we broach this topic, it's like they literally will warn me, be careful with this topic.
What?
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think that the topic of giants is intermeshed with the occult. That's my personal theory, because nothing else makes sense. Who cares if there's 8-foot-tall guys, right? Big deal.
Right. Well, there's 8-foot-tall humans, right? We were just talking about that young kid that's a basketball player that's 7'9", right?
There's a few of them now I've seen.
Yeah. So there's actual giants that are in public.
Right.
That play for the NBA, and
Right.
they're out there. You could meet them.
Mm-hmm. But when I say giants, I'm talking about 9 to 12 feet tall.
Right.
That's 8 to 12 feet tall. I would classify an 8-foot-tall person as a giant as well, as long as they don't have gigantism.
Right.
That's a completely different thing.
Right.
Gigantism is a disability.
This Kandahar giant story is very crazy because what's interesting about it is the people that I've talked to that have been in Afghanistan, that were deployed in Afghanistan, not just Devin, but other people, they don't dismiss it. They say, we've heard some weird shit about that place. And the thing that they always say is, you got to realize, Afghanistan is an old country. It's old and it's very remote. Most of it is very mountainous. It's controlled by warlords. And, look, there's these, what are those? Are they Greek or Roman, those structures that are there that date the Greek? They look like Greek temples that date back to Alexander the Great.
Mm-hmm.
And archaeologists can't study them. They can't go there because it's too dangerous.
It's one of the most remote places on the planet, specifically because it's so dangerous. You can't just go strolling around Afghanistan. I mean, It probably would be easier to go to Antarctica than Afghanistan. And
it's kind of hilarious.
So the story of the Kandahar giant.
Yeah, let's tell the story.
This story has grown into a mythology over the years. Years ago, I was working with a gentleman named Steve Quayle, and we started a production company called Gen 6 Productions. And we were making documentary films mainly about giants, mainly on the topic of giants.
Giants as referred to in the Bible, in ancient history, the Smithsonian giants.
That's right, biblical and historical accounts of giants. So I was traveling around the world investigating giants, and Steve is known for his investigations into giants. And he got a phone call from an elderly woman who told him, "You need to talk to my son. My son has a story he needs to tell you." And she had to convince her son to talk to Steve, and ultimately he did. And he was active duty. He was a C-130 pilot, active duty. He actually went on coast to coast with Steve. They went on coast to coast together, and he related his story, I believe, with George Norrie, him, Steve, and George. And then later on, we flew him into Bozeman, Montana to put him in our documentary film that we were making. And he wanted to be filmed in silhouette. He did not want his face out there, even though he knew that they're going to be able to mark him just by his voice. So he flies into Bozeman. We meet with him. He shows us his credentials. He was active duty C-130. And then he told us the following story, among many other things that he told us. He said back in 2005, he was deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq running missions as a C-130 cargo pilot. And oftentimes they would have him fly into Bagram Airfield. And these were routine missions. And so on one of these missions, he's flying into Bagram. But this time when he landed, he was met as soon as he deplaned, he was met on the tarmac by some individuals that he describes as the babysitters. He calls them the babysitters. He thinks they were either Army intelligence or Air Force intelligence guys. They didn't tell him. But this was different because when he disembarked, they told him, no photos, no mention of this ever. This never happened. So he knew that whatever was about to happen was top secret. And he had flown classified missions before, usually retrieving Taliban guys, what he described as high-valued assets. But this was different because there were intelligence guys on the tarmac waiting for something. And it turns out what they were waiting for was the cargo that was being delivered on a forklift to the C-130. And the pilot says that the first thing that struck him as this cargo was moving toward him and his crew was the odor. He said it smelled like musk, BO, and death. And it was extremely pungent. And when the cargo arrived, it was on an air cargo pallet, which is 7 by 9. And he could see that there was a person on the pallet in the fetal position. And this individual was so large that his hands and his feet and part of his head were hanging off the pallet. And he and his loadmaster, and there were some Marines who accompanied the pallet, who accompanied this cargo, they were actually putting their feet up to this guy's feet, this dead giant's feet, and seeing how small their feet were compared to his. Now, the giant had red hair. He had 6 fingers on each hand, 6 toes on each foot. His feet were wrapped in like a crude canvas foot wrapping. And he was solid as a rock. Again, most of his body was covered by a tarp, but the pilot and the guys around him were hitting him with their fists. And he came up to about their midsection, laying in the fetal position. And the pilot told me he was solid as a rock, this guy. And he asked the Marines, what happened? Where did this guy come from? And they told him that they had heard that there was a team that was out in Afghanistan that was looking for Taliban or something. And they came upon a cave because there was a nearby village, and the villagers were bringing food and other artifacts to the mouth of this cave. And so they thought that they're aiding and abetting the Taliban. So they went into the cave, and rather than encountering the Taliban, what they found was this enormous humanoid who killed them all. And then, according to these soldiers, they deployed another team to go look for that team. And when they found the cave, they found the traces of that other team. They were ready. They were prepared. And they were able to kill the giant. In fact, the soldiers told the pilot that the giant was eating on members of the team who had killed previously. But these new guys, they took him down, and then they had a transport helicopter come in and airlift him to Bagram.
Did you ever try to find records of who was there and casualties that were reported, deaths that were reported?
It's very difficult. The Pentagon actually released a statement some years ago, which is bizarre to me. Basically saying, in paraphrasing, the Kandahar giant incident never happened. There was never a giant that was killed in Afghanistan.
The Pentagon?
So yeah, it was a representative. It was like a spokesman from the Pentagon or something, or a release from the Pentagon.
Is this available online?
Yeah. They actually felt the need to debunk this.
That's hilarious.
Now,
that gets me sketchy.
Well, I believed the pilot because he was a very credible guy. He didn't want his name out there. He didn't want fame or notoriety. He was very nervous. He thought there's a good chance that they're going to recognize me by my voice. He was on Coast to Coast AM, and then he's in our documentary. There's a good chance I'm going to get recognized, and there's going to be some reprisal. He was nervous. Now, they weighed the giant before they loaded him on the C-130, because they have to load everything that goes onto the C-130. The loadmaster weighed him. He weighed 1,100 pounds. And they estimated his height at 10 to 12 feet tall. And so they loaded him onto the C-130, and then they flew him to Qatar. And then they unloaded the cargo in Qatar. And our pilot told me he heard through the grapevine that the body ended up at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He said, I don't know. That's just what I heard. So this is a firsthand account from the C-130 pilot who flew the body himself from Bagram Airfield to Qatar.
Why does all the weird shit go to Wright-Patterson?
That's a good question.
Because that's where the weird shit goes.
Wright-Patterson used to have the Blue Room. I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a room there called the Blue Room where they had all of the alien artifacts that had been recovered and that they were studying. And it was completely off limits to anybody except for people who had access, the very few who had access. And but the Kandahar Giant, that story, a colleague of mine, L.A. Marsuli, he had another guy come to him, a different guy. We interviewed the pilot, Steve and I. L.A. had another guy come to him that was, I can't remember the details, he was a special forces guy. He had firsthand knowledge of the event as well. And we're not sure if it's the same one or a different one, if there was just one incident with the Giants or if there were multiple incidents. Now, years later, this would be just a couple of years ago because we published that film, I think, back in 2016. But just a couple of years ago, and I do have to be very careful here, I ran into a gentleman who was very high up, let's say, in the operations happening out there during the Iraq War and in Afghanistan. And this individual had he'd flown a lot of missions, and he was a commander. And I asked him, we were having a casual conversation, and he starts to walk away, and I said, hey, you were in flying missions in Afghanistan. I said, have you ever heard about the Kandahar Giant? And his wife was standing next to me, and he's sort of walking away. He turns around. The blood rushes out of his face, and he literally goes like this to me, points to his phone. And his wife whispers, he can't talk about that. So later on, I was able to, we agreed to meet it later on and in a very controlled environment. And he related a story to me that's the most wild story I've ever heard in my life. And I'm sorry, I can't relay it. I love this guy. I want to protect him. But it's not the giant of Kandahar. It's the giants of Kandahar. There's more than one. The military has known about it. And aside from him, I talked to other soldiers who've also had knowledge of the specific incident that I cited earlier, but then also in general the giants in Afghanistan. And I have a friend of mine who I met some years ago. Actually, I was with Lou Elizondo at Lou's Bar in Wyoming, and there was a friend of Lou's who's now a friend of mine there, and we were talking about the Kandahar Giant. I was just telling him the story I told you, and he just couldn't believe it. He thought, this is nuts. This is crazy. And I said, okay, do something for me. Next time you're talking to somebody in government or in the military who you think maybe might know something about this, bring it up. See what happens. So he called me one day and he said, Tim, you're not going to believe it. He said, I was talking to, I have to be very careful here too. He said, I was talking to a certain individual who works for a senator. He's a staffer. I believe he's a chief of staff for the senator, or at the very least an advisor. And he's got a military background, special forces. And he said, I was sitting there, we're really good friends. He said, we're having a casual conversation, as we always do. And just in the midst of this conversation, I said, hey, what do you know about the Kandahar Giant? And he said his face completely contorted. And they were no longer just being happy and laughing. He became very stern. And he said, what have you gotten yourself into? What are you looking into? He said, you need to be really careful. And he wouldn't tell him anything else. That's the kind of reaction that I get and others get whenever we try and get information on this story.
I mean, just recently they verified the Shroud of Turin. Have you seen that?
I've been reading about it, and I know that there's some contention, there's some discussion and debate about it, but they used to think that it was only a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
And now they've changed that.
Yeah, they said no, it's back then.
They also don't understand how it was made, which to me is very fascinating because it's not paint. It's not. They don't know what caused the image itself and how that technology would have even been available.
It wasn't. No.
A couple thousand years ago.
An intense light. I mean, atomic. To leave almost like a photographic imprint on a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And
it's wild. Pull that up. Pull the Shroud of Turin up.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild to look at because it's so interesting.
Oh, yeah. And you can see it, that it depicts a first-century Hebrew male because the hairstyle was from the first century, and a Hebrew hairstyle, that he was about 6 feet tall, that he was completely scourged all over his body. He was crucified. That's it there.
The one on the left is the one on the right is just like an artistic rendition.
That's the face.
Yeah, click on that one. The face. Yeah, that's good enough. Get that large. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Scourged, beaten.
Yeah.
The wounds on the thorns, the hands, the feet, and the scourging, and the hairstyle was from the first century, and the pollens that they found in the cloth were from that region.
Yeah.
Also, the weave was a first century weave that was typical. And another guy, an archaeologist who I knew who actually translated the Passion into Aramaic, told me that if you look close, you can see the image of a Tiberius coin marks on the eyes. Now, I don't know if that's real or not. I've never actually checked that, but that there's images of Tiberius on the coin.
So they would put the coins over the eyes?
Yeah. So that would date it. But they have now verified that it does actually go back to that time period. For a while, they were testing pieces that had been repaired in the 13th century or, you know. So.
What is the latest on that, Jamie? Can you see, like...
I was trying to get that. I have 2 different articles from within the last 6 months saying
the
opposite
Smithsonian
things. So
opposite, of course.
Dig into which one sounded the most accurate.
Well, it's such a crazy thing to even try to verify. Like, what are you saying? You're saying that this is really the shroud that Jesus was covered in? So you're saying Jesus historically absolutely did exist, and we think that this is the shroud that covered him. That alone, people, incredulity, people's immediately their hackles raise. Like, wait a minute, and they just instead of like looking at it objectively, they almost always want to look at it from a point of view of disproving it immediately, dismissing it immediately.
But that's that's science, isn't it? You have to sort of you play the devil's advocate, and that's okay. Go for it.
Are you aware of Graham Hancock?
Oh no.
Graham Hancock is he's sort of a historian that has a very he's got a series on Netflix. He's a fascinating guy, and his career started because he was investigating these accounts in Ethiopia of the Ark of the Covenant. Right. And that they believe the Ark of the Covenant is in this one church that's protected by all these monks that wind up getting cataracts and radiation disease and sickness. And they think that it's because they're protecting this Ark of the Covenant, this actual thing, that it's an actual physical thing that's there.
And if you touch it, you get zapped.
Yeah, and that even being in its presence fucks these people up.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, it's got to be someplace, right? They buried it. They lost track of it.
Yeah.
But, man, it used to be. And all the stories are, if you even touched it, you fall over, because it was constructed electrically somehow.
Yeah, like what is that? What's in there? Why is it giving people cancer if they're really protecting it?
I think it's the actual structure of the container it's in that is the problem. That's my thought on it. I could be wrong. But I think inside it they have things from like when Moses was like manna and, stuff like that they managed to keep from, like, for example, they say that that Golgotha, the place where the crucifixion happened, it's called Golgotha, the place of the skull, because that's where Adam's head is buried.
Really?
Yes, and that it's also perhaps the same place, and it tells you it's kind of in the same area where Abraham almost sacrifices Isaac.
Oh.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's And the cross, when in any artistic depiction, at the foot of the cross, underneath it is the skull, representing the skull of Adam.
Huh.
So it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
That's the skull of Adam, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Place of the skull, memory, myth, in the chapel of Adam.
What did you find on the Shroud of Turin, Jamie?
Both those articles had just asked like one person, like one researcher thought it was, another researcher based off of their research said it wasn't.
Can you put it to the one that thought it was?
So the one who thought it was is like a
Does date to
nuclear
the time of
researcher.
Jesus. A nuclear researcher, Jesus
The
Christ.
other one was like a AI artist from Brazil.
Yeah.
So I don't know who has the most.
So it says, study
Skin
published in the
the game.
journal Heritage. The authors conducted dating work on a sample from the shroud, coming to the conclusion that it may be a 2,000-year-old relic. The shroud, which has long been the subject of intense scrutiny, features a faint image of a man some believe is the body of Jesus miraculously imprinted onto the cloth. While the latest study does not discuss the question of whether or not the artifact was indeed Jesus' burial shroud, specifically, the authors did find its age is roughly consistent with his time. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, isn't the Smithsonian guy all for it? I don't know. Maybe that's him. I don't know. But, yeah. There's for and against. There's always been.
Yeah, always. But it's just...
But the image is like, come
Yeah,
on.
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Whatever it is pretty crazy. And the fact that they don't know how they made it is also pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's not a painting.
Nope.
They're not exactly sure how
No.
it even came about.
Yeah. It had to have been some kind of intense light.
Well, the thought was that even trying to replicate something like that today would be incredibly difficult to do.
Sure. It's like an X-ray vision. You know?
Yeah.
It's like an X-ray. That's what it. You really see it in the negative only.
Right.
You know. It's
Right.
crazy.
It's like a negative. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I buy it, but that's not the only reason I buy it. I mean, I think there's other logical reasons why I believe. So.
Like what are those?
Oh, okay. Stuff that happens in your own life. The results you get from actually appealing to a power greater than yourself,
About this, and this is a silly thing to ask you because you said Kandahar.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the legend of
Yes.
the Kandahar giant?
Of course.
Yeah. What did you hear? When did you hear?
Well, I've seen. Okay. There's some freaks out there, man. There's some freaks. So yeah, I mean, I've seen the YouTube video. I've heard about it from other people, but legit, okay? Hard for me because I was far away, okay? I was probably about 200 meters away. We were doing a mobility exercise, okay? Mobility, I hate mobility. Okay, mobility was my least favorite op. Mobility, basically, you get in a bunch of trucks and you kind of roll out and you kind of look for a fight, okay? So we were doing like a 2-week mobility in this region, kind of north of the Panjway. I don't remember exactly what it was called. It was this, surrounded by mountains, this big valley. And we were rolling around and so there was a village that we were going to check out. And I'm like a gunner, okay? So I don't know everything that's going on. I'm a dude on a machine gun, okay? But I can see everything that's happening. I kind of know what we're doing. But I know that there's a meeting. And what they have is they have these warlords. It's not the same kind of political system or anything that we have in like North America. Kind of the baddest dude in the region becomes in charge, okay? So we were meeting with one of the local warlords. And so the town was like 500 meters away. They drove out from the town about 500 meters, and we had our trucks about 200 meters from the meeting point. Our officer and a couple dudes went forward, and we're looking. This guy, I mean, he was maybe twice as big. He was huge. He was a massive dude.
Like how big?
I think he was 8 feet. I think he was 8 foot something. And it's embarrassing. It's like, Devin, you're crazy? And he's big.
And he was 200 meters away.
He's about 200 meters away, but I can see the guys. We got optics. Our officer was probably somewhere between at the bottom of his chest. Great big Afghan dude, big beard, big dude, and his lackeys around him were normal size. Great big warlord. So they're out there. There's big people. There's
8 feet is nuts.
I have personally seen people who were probably over 8 feet.
What?
Yeah.
In Afghanistan?
No. I saw these guys up northern Canada, Cree. I was up in Ojibugamo, okay, this Cree village. I remember walking up. I'm there for arm wrestling. We're having an arm wrestling tournament, and I'm looking up. We're walking up the stairs in this hockey arena, and this dude, I'm like, that's a really big dude. And by the time I got there, I was about, and I'm like 6'5", I was about at his nipple. Okay?
What?
Yeah, big hands, big long hands, like out of the Goonies, like misshapen face. I'm like, my God. I'm like, how big are you? He's like, just laughed at me. And he's like, my dad's 8'11". He's like,
what?
Yeah, big.
My dad's 8'11".
I'll tell you, there's big people. And people don't know about them. Guinness doesn't know about them. They live up in the woods. There's big people out there. And not all of them.
What is that guy, Jamie?
He's from that region, apparently. I don't know how to say that. Edouard Beaupre.
So there's just giants that live in that
8'3".
region?
Yeah.
8'3".
The Cree are very big people. And the thing is when they get to eat what they're supposed to eat, the problem is so many of them eat junk now, right? Because they grow up on the...
367 pounds, maybe? Or 367, sorry.
They
8
grow
foot
up,
2.5, 367 pounds, age 33. Whoa.
yeah, I forget the name of these brothers, but there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's some weird genetics out there.
Is there any evidence that there was other species of human beings that existed in the Americas? Like we're finding in Russia, and there's many of them that are being discovered all over the world now, these subspecies of human beings.
Yeah. This is an issue that I go into in America before. And what first drew me into it was Denisova Cave in Siberia. I think everybody's heard of the Neanderthals, and these days I think everybody's heard of the Denisovans as well.
A lot of people haven't.
I guess a lot of people haven't. But first of all, let's take the Neanderthals.
Okay.
For a long time, it was held that the Neanderthals were stupid, primitive subhumans, shambling, lacking symbolism. Turns out that that's not true at all. The latest scientific evidence on the Neanderthals is that they were symbolic creatures, that they did do art, that they were in every sense human, and they were in every sense human because anatomically modern humans interbred with Neanderthals. You can't interbreed with another species. They clearly were human beings, but they looked rather different from us. And that's why certain populations in the world today still have 3 to 5% of Neanderthal DNA. Then in Russia, in Denisova Cave, they find a single pinky bone from a little finger. And they do the DNA testing on it. They're able to get a complete genome from it. And what they discover is this isn't a Neanderthal. This isn't an anatomically modern human being. This is another human species who they named the Denisovans. They think they're more closely related to Neanderthals than they are to anatomically modern humans, but they're clearly another human species. And they also interbred with anatomically modern humans. And Denisovan DNA survives, interestingly enough. It survives predominantly in Australasia, in Papua New Guinea and amongst Australian Aborigines. So as part of the research for this book, I went to Denisova Cave. I had an amazing, actually just incredible trip to Russia. I hadn't expected it to be like that at all. Siberia, I mean, America is vast, but my God, crossing Siberia, this is endless rolling plains, this just vast area.
How did you cross it?
We took a car. You can't travel independently in Russia. It's very difficult. You have to get permission, and you have to state in advance where you're going to be stopping off at. So what I found, and I just did so through the internet, was a local guy called Sergei Kurgin, who had a little tour business in Siberia, in the city of Novosibirsk. I got in touch with him. he found a translator who would translate my emails, and I said, we want to make this journey to Denisova Cave. And can you set this up for us and get all the permissions? And he did. And so we flew into Novosibirsk. Sergei and his translator, who turned out to be a Russian student who spoke good English, joined us. And we did this immense journey across Siberia.
How long did it take?
Oh, it took us 3 days to get to Denisova Cave. 3 days
driving every day.
3 days of driving every day. Some stopping off along the way. Incredible hospitality of the Russians that we were amongst. Very independent people who are living out there in the wilderness and who actually do know how to survive. It's the first time I've ever drunk milk fresh from the cow. Literally milked right out of the cow and poured down my throat.
How was it?
It was delicious. And the cream, I mean, thick cream. Very, so there was a lot of things about Russia that surprised me. Denisova Cave is a fascinating, beautiful place to visit. It's another example of a missing chapter in the human story that is beginning to be pieced together. It's obvious now that we were not alone, that there were multiple other human species who were human enough to interbreed with us and leave DNA.
And this Denisovan species was only discovered in, like, was it 2000 something?
Very recently, the 2000s.
Or something.
It's a very recent discovery, and
did they leave behind art? Did they leave behind art?
Better than that, they left behind certain physical objects which are extremely hard to explain. One of them is a green stone bracelet. And that bracelet is in the form of a torque, which was therefore slipped on sideways onto the hand. It's not a full ring, and a hole has been drilled through the bracelet, and from that hole it's been possible to reconstruct that a pendant was hung. Then the archaeologists, started to take a look in detail at the drill marks on that hole, and what they discovered was a huge anomaly, that was drilled with a stable, fixed drill, and it was drilled at extremely high speed. This is thought to be 40 or 50,000 years old. There is not supposed to have been any such technology in that period that was capable of drilling with a stable fixed drill, and yet there it is, and there it appears. So there are also incredible, very fine needles, bone needles that the Denisovans made, very long ones, which suggest that they were stitching very heavy stuff together. And the suggestion has been, were they making skin boats, for example, to use to navigate? That would explain how they managed to get themselves to Australia, which is where the largest amount of Denisovan DNA survives today. There's one of those needles. So there are indications of strangely out of place technology amongst the Denisovans, which is 20, 30,000 years earlier in the human story than it should be. Those kind of needles, that kind of bracelet, you could expect to find them in what archaeologists call the Neolithic, but to find it in the Paleolithic is very puzzling and very odd, and it suggests that the Denisovans were certainly not shambling subhumans, that they were refined creatures.
Can you find out what year they discovered the Denisovans, Jamie? Can you Google that real quick? I want to say it's in the 2000s, but I mean, imagine that human beings have been around for this long. Here we are in 2019, and within the last decade or so, they figured this out.
Yeah, we're discovering new stuff about ourselves. We're discovering that our story is much richer, much more textured, much more layered than we thought it was. It's not a simple story. It's a very complicated story, and we ourselves are a hybrid species. We are the result of interactions with all kinds of different looking human beings, and the end result is ourselves. So it's not just that we carry Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA. In a sense, we are Neanderthals and Denisovans, and they are part of the anatomically modern human heritage. So you make a good point. The fact that this is only being discovered now, and that it's an incredibly important, I mean, it completely rewrites the story of our ancestry. The notion.
It says the 1970s.
1970s.
Okay, I'm way off.
The real work that's been done in Denisova Cave has been done in the 2000s, from 2006, 2007 onwards.
Genetic examinations.
That's when the major papers have been
2008.
Been published.
Yeah.
Which have revealed the genome of the Denisovans and revealed the Denisovan connection to anatomically modern humans. The fact that we're only finding this out now, that we told the the story of our past and weren't aware of this raises the question, how much else in the story of our past is there that we're not aware of? Let's stop being so arrogant, so sure of ourselves, so confident in our findings. Let's be more tentative. Let's keep an open mind and see where it takes us. That's the main message that I have from all of this. And I think, and I hope that this will be an effect of this book. I'm not kidding myself that the archaeologists are going to jump on board overnight, particularly so since I'm very critical of American archaeology in this book. And I'm critical of it specifically and explicitly because of the dominance of the Clovis first model for so long, which prevented other research taking place.
Here's one that always gets me. Stories of giants.
I want that to be real so bad. I mean, I want all of this
that the
to be real.
Smithsonian's been hiding the information. Those are the big conspiracies.
Could be.
Down in their basement, they've got like a 10-foot tall human being. A race of giants that existed, roamed the earth.
Yeah.
David and Goliath's a real story.
It just seems like they wouldn't be gone. They wouldn't be the ones that would have been killed off.
Unless, in the cataclysm, like the Younger Dryas impact theory, there wasn't enough food.
Oh,
and they died off. You know, because if you're that big, you need to eat a lot.
So you think they were around like way long ago?
Way
and
long
died
ago.
off way long ago.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think like recently, but I think like
yeah.
It is. There's so many stories, and so many cultures have these stories, even in the Bible, of a race of giants.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it couldn't just be big people.
Right.
It seems like what they're talking about is something crazy.
I guess it could be if you're just because if you're just mythologizing. There's no way that's a word, but if you're just turning something that is real, this is the same with like a dragon. People obviously just get inspired by things that are around them. They start to morph into things. I mean, there was no fire-breathing animal flying around.
Probably crocodiles and shit like that.
Yeah, crocodiles, and then there are like cobras that spit venom, which obviously gets in your eyes. Probably going to burn like a son of a bitch. So like there's like the fire myth. I mean,
and people exaggerate.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like people will take somebody who is a big son of a bitch and they go, "Oh, well, let's exaggerate and say that the guy he fought was 9 feet tall instead of 6'5".
Exactly.
Which he probably was. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, when you talk about races of these giants, you could also be talking about like people from Iceland.
Yeah.
Right?
Who were naturally
enormous
big as
Viking
hell.
dudes.
Yeah.
Who were always win those fucking strongman competitions. Those guys there's giants up there. Like 400, like the Mountain from Game of Thrones. Like that kind of person. So you think about that. Like that's that size human.
Right.
There could have been a bunch of those around, and maybe that's what they were talking about, giants. Or there could have been like a specific race of humans. Like they keep finding these additional types of humans. Like they found Denisovans fairly recently, and then that other one that we brought up the other day, the big-headed people. That's fairly recently. They've discovered that this is a completely different branch. That there may, but here's the thing: if they did find those, would they tell us? Like if archaeologists, like who would put the cap on that? If they found like a 10-foot human under like a just gigantic dead human with a huge sword underground, like would they just say we're wrong, giants existed, or would they go people can't handle this?
That's a tough because that's the answer to, or that's the question for so many things.
They might say people can't handle it. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
I would say, they'd probably say.
Isn't that infuriating?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it was you? Now imagine you're out in West Texas, wherever you are, hanging out with your friends, and somebody notices something in the ground, and you start digging, and you pull out a fucking thigh bone that's this big, and you plop it down. You go, what the fuck is that? And then you got a buddy who works at the university nearby, and he starts digging. He's like, hey, dude, this is a fucking human foot. And he pulls out a human foot that's size 38. And you're like, what is going on, man? And so then you bring in some experts and like, holy shit, dude, this is a giant. And then they do DNA tests. They find out it's a real actual creature.
Yeah. I'm telling everyone.
Yeah. They're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. The scientists will kill you. They're going to run you off the road.
Yeah, I
Look
guess
at this. The longest, or what I guess would be the tallest.
The people have ever found?
That they've ever found. It was found in China. It's supposedly about 4,400 years old. Would have been about 16, 18 years old. The weird thing here is, though, that it says there was 3 drill holes found in the skull, and they don't
Whoa.
know why.
Whoa, drill holes. How big was it?
6'4".
Oh.
Oh, fuck me.
Well, back then that was probably fucking huge.
Well, you said they found it in China?
Yeah.
That's a giant.
And they're calling it, they call
Right.
it a
Well, it
giant.
might be Mongolian, you know.
Well,
Also
I just mean
looked up-
compared to the Chinese that are found,
Right.
they're probably like, holy shit, this
Goliath
thing's-
is anywhere from modern day, maybe they say up to 6'6", but like taking the word for word from the Bible, it would have been about 9'9".
Yeah, that's what I always
Right,
thought. That's
right,
what I always
right,
I don't know
right.
how
remember
to
as
see
a
a
kid.
weight size.
Right.
that
Well,
come up.
if you're back then, nobody had any food, and the average man was probably like 5'4". So if you encounter some dude who's 6'6", some big jack guy, that is a giant.
That's a giant.
And then also, like, you got to think human beings, if they exist today and they're 6'6", they had the potential to be that big back then. They just didn't get the food.
Yeah.
But if you are in some very nutrient-rich environment, look
Yao
at that.
Ming
Ming
versus,
and
both those guys played pro basketball.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Muggsy, is it Muggsy Bogues?
Muggsy
Yeah.
Bogues,
On the list?
yeah.
But there's smaller people that exist that can function and do stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. But what's crazy is that the potential for that guy, the Yao guy, who's how tall is he?
7'7",
Right,
Yeah,
that exists
yeah.
in the human genome, right? That's not like we engineered them like we did dogs.
Right.
Like that exists.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe back then, if you had a ton of food and you didn't have to worry about war, like, and people
Yeah.
just kept breeding and growing and getting nutrient rich, because the thing about people in the past is they didn't have any fucking food, man.
Yeah.
Like the average size of a guy who fought in the Civil War was, I think, 125 pounds or something crazy like that.
5'4" and 120, I think, is
Nuts.
the thing. Yeah.
Starving to death.
It's like a
Starving to death,
15
shooting people with
it's
muskets.
Like a 14-year-old girl. I mean, that's
Nuts.
like, yeah.
Right? And all they needed
Yeah.
was food. You know, you give them protein and then they grow normal sized, which is
Yeah.
really wild.
Yeah. Because there's tons of people that are well over 7 feet. It's
Yeah.
not like it's, I mean, it is an anomaly compared to.
Speaking of, there's one guy in the Civil War 7'6". He would have
7'6".
stood out
Whoa.
real big, but everybody else was 5'8", average.
He was
5'8".
7'6" in the Civil War. Holy shit.
Is that? Oh, that's not a picture of him, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
But
never
the
mind.
thing
But yeah.
about the stories in the Bible, though, it's like these are like mystical giants, the Nephilim, you know?
Is
Look at
one
this
of the
guy.
tallest men.
Ohio.
So he's. There you go.
Bro, you do not want
Thomas
to box
Jones,
that guy.
7'6".
7'6".
That's a
well,
big
she
dude.
must be pretty tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
She probably needed to do that big, take care of her.
yeah, probably.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. She can be handling this
The big
5'8"
lady.
guys.
Yeah, she can't be fucking with me.
He's like, what are y'all doing? Yeah.
She'll hold me down. I'll have to fight that lady to the death.
No chance. Yeah.
She needs a big man. She's
Yeah.
a big giant man to fuck her correctly.
Yes.